Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I first want to start by saying thank you. You guys have shown me so much support, and in just a short time, we've been able to grow this channel in a rate that I didn't even know was going to be possible. So again, thank you. To everyone who subscribed, commented, liked the videos, shared the videos, you guys rock. If you're new to the channel, then first off, welcome. On this channel, our goal is to broaden your painting skills as well as create an escape for the stressful, crazy world. Today, we're going to paint Goku in a two-part series. The second video will probably come in a later date, but for now, we'll just focus on Goku. I got about this far in the painting of Goku and then realized I hated it. I made the mistake of choosing the wrong colors when making him, so I decided to bite the bullet and just start over by painting everything black. When painting, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's perfectly fine. And you should also take comfort in knowing that those mistakes can be easily corrected. So there's no shame in restarting your paint job if it makes your piece look better in the end. Today we're going to be trying a new technique out, which is called cell shading. And no, I'm not talking about this cell. I'm talking about cell shading, which is a technique of making cartoon drawings. It's kind of funny because a lot of animation you see makes a really strong effort to make 2D objects look 3D, but I've seen a lot of people kind of flip this on its head in an effort to make 3D objects look 2D. This is going to be my first attempt at this, so there's no guarantees at how it's going to look, but it's always good to try things that's out of your comfort zone. So that being said, let's start with the skin tone. By mixing the three previous colors I showed, which if you missed it were brown, red, and white, we're going to mix up some sort of medium skin tone. You're going to paint the entire skin in this skin tone. It should look something like this. With cell shading, you usually take at least 2, but sometimes even up to 5 shades of the same color to create your highlights and shadows. The contrast between those are going to be pretty harsh. Those lines between each shade need to be sharp. That's what's going to make it look more like a cartoon rather than a realistic object. So what you see me doing here is actually painting on a highlight. All I did was add some white to some previously mixed skin tone. When figuring out where to place my highlights and shadows, it's very important to pick a light source. In other words, pick a direction as to where the light is going to be coming from. With dry brushing in our past videos, this is not so much an important thing to think about. However, with cell shading, it is. For me, I have my light source coming from the top left. The reason I chose that is because I actually have a lamp on my desk that is shining a light from the top left. If I ever get stuck on where to place highlights and shadows, I just hold up my figure and that natural light source from my lamp will cast its light onto my figure, thus giving it highlights and shadows, kind of giving me a cheat code as to where to place my highlights and shadows on my print. As for the shapes and stuff that I paint, I try to make whatever shape that I'm painting close to the shape of which I'm painting on. For example, when I painted on his pectoral muscle, I painted on an oval that didn't take up his entire pectoral muscle. However, it just took up a small portion of it, but it's relatively the same shape, maybe slightly deformed. Another helpful tip when trying to figure out where to place the shadows, putting the shadows in the crease marks, such as like right there in his sternum or in between his ribs. Those are really good points of putting shadow marks. So if you're struggling there, just kind of find where light would be, shadows would be casted naturally, and just kind of place them there. The beauty is, if you don't like it, you can always cover it up with the skin tone and retry it. Now it's time for what is called the line work. This is going to be your thin black lines that you paint to add definition. I'll be real honest here, you got to trust the process. It wasn't up until I started doing the line work that I really started to like the actual piece. Prior to the line work, it just kind of looks like a bunch of globs of different shades of certain colors, but trust me, once you hit it with those black lines, it really makes your piece look so much better. When it comes to painting your black lines, you want to make sure that you have a steady hand. A good rule of thumb is to have 2 points of contact or more if possible. You'll see me a lot of times stabilize my painting hand by putting my ring finger on the piece itself. That is the first point of contact. My second form of contact comes from my forearm being pressed up against the table that I'm painting on. And then sometimes I get a third point of contact when my elbow makes contact with the armrest on my chair. When making these black lines, it's also very important to note that your paint should be thinner than usual. You don't want it so thin that it's kind of running all over the place. However, you also don't want it to be dry and cause you to have to press harder than you normally would if it was the correct consistency. You'll find yourself painting thicker and sloppier lines when you paint with a thicker paint. So try to make sure that you always have that paint kind of thin. As for where to paint the black lines, what I did was painted it where the muscles meet. And you'll see me later when I paint the fabric, I painted it where the wrinkles were. You almost want to paint the line in the lowest point of the part that you're painting. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, where certain muscles meet, you're going to want to draw a black line in between the two muscles to separate them, which will add definition. I also added these like 2 to 3 small lines and kind of placed them arbitrarily all over the piece. This kind of gives the effect that he's a bit roughed up, you know. Now it's time to paint the eyes. What I did for the eyes was paint the entire part of the eye in white. Then I came back with a medium gray and painted the top half of the eye to kind of cast a shadow over that part of the eye. Then since he has blue eyes, I came in with a baby blue by mixing white and blue and made the iris of his eye. And then I just came back with the regular blue, no white mixed, and painted the top half of that iris, thus casting a shadow. Then I came in with black and painted the pupil of his eye. And then I came back with a very tiny bit of white and kind of put that in the top right of his iris and pupil where they connect. The reason I do this is because it gives an indication of a glare in his eye. It will make your eyes look so much better when you add it. Just trust me on that. I think you would be surprised. But now let's move on to the shirt. So for the shirt, I actually painted the entire thing blue. Just the regular blue, no mixtures here. Just a regular old blue. And what you're going to want to do is then mix up a dark blue and paint in sort of the creases where you think that shadow is going to be. I should also mention that you should pick up a reference photo online. That could probably help you out a lot when it comes to painting this particular way. And then, of course, come in with the light blue, and you're going to paint in the highlights. And then, just like we did with the chest, come in and do your line work with the black lines. Now, for the pants, just go ahead and paint all of that orange. It may take several coats in order to make it look like a true orange. Orange is a very transparent color, so it will take a lot of coats. I should also mention here that you don't like how the piece looks. One important thing to note is that sometimes it helps to hold up Goku and look at him and then just kind of yell out your best Kamehameha. I did this several times, probably an unhealthy amount if I had to guess. But it will make your piece look so much better, I promise. Side note though, your neighbors will hate you, but it's all for the good of the print. So go ahead, blurt out that Kamehameha and make your paint job on your Goku character look so much better. Just like we did for the blue fabric, we're going to mix up some highlights and shadows. For the shadows, I mixed up red and orange, and then for the highlights, I just had orange and white mixed up. In the low points, you're going to paint the dark mixture to create your shadows, but also don't forget about where your light source is coming from. And then for the high points of the fabric, you're going to want to paint that orange and white mix that you've mixed up. Then go in and make your line work to really make your piece pop. You guys are killing it so far. Keep up the hard work. Now for his hair, all I did was paint this entire thing yellow. Again, to achieve this kind of cartoon looking effect, you may need to paint this multiple times in order to get that proper yellow. Then I came back with a darker yellow by mixing yellow and brown. Do not mix yellow and black. It kind of creates a nasty looking yellow. So mix yellow and brown instead. That kind of gives it a more dirty blonde type of hair color. I apply the shade of that dirty blonde to the roots of his hair in certain areas, and then I come back with a lighter yellow using a yellow and white mixture and paint the tips of his hair. It's important here to remember the light source. So the left-hand side on my piece is going to get a lot more yellow white mixture than the right-hand side. Before we do the line work on the hair, I want to finish his arms and knees real quick and then tackle his shoes. The arms and knees, you're going to do the same way that you did the chest. And then the wristbands, you're going to do the same way that you did the shirt. And then the shoes, you're going to paint all of those blue. You're going to do that the same way that you did the shirt. However, there is red coming down the middle, and then he also has a yellow strap around. So I want to cover that with you guys really quick. So basically, his shoes are going to have 3 shades of red. A light red, a dark red, and then the regular red. Dark red, I mixed black and red. Light red, I mixed white and red. And then you just have the regular red. No mixture involved on that one. The dark red is going to match up where the dark blue is on his boots. And then the light red is going to match up where the light blue is on his boots. The regular blue is going to match up with the regular red. Hopefully that makes sense. I realize that's kind of a mouthful, but I think that the visual aspect of the video is going to kind of show you and explain that a little further. Make sure that whatever black lines you created on the blue boot, you go back over and paint over that red. I also outlined the red portion in black to kind of give it that more cartoony look. Then we have the strap that goes around his ankle. That is yellow. There is just one color on it. I just used regular yellow on the strap, and then I came back and did some line work on that. So nothing special on that strap, just regular old yellow and then black line work. Of course, I did forget to video the line work that I did on the hair, but basically to just kind of describe what I did, I took my thin paintbrush and just painted in the grooves of the hair. That's all I did really. And you should get an effect that looks like this. So this is the final product of the Goku. Again, this is part 1 of a 2-part series. The other one we'll do at a later date. But what do you guys think? Do you like this technique? Do you think that it looks like a 2D character? I mean, that was essentially the goal, was to make a 3D model look like a 2D character. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions, again, thank you so much for the support. I will say that the second video that we're going to be making has to do with this guy right here. I really do appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.